God bless you, Facebook. I know this is Sunday, going live on this Sunday. This is my ARA Self-Empowerment podcast. Trying to build up a lot of content for my ARA Self-Empowerment platform. Go ahead and go over on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. I want you to like, subscribe, and share, or share, subscribe, whichever, follow me, whichever, however you want to do it. But again, I want you to go over on the YouTube, go to ARA Self-Empowerment. I want you to follow me here on YouTube. Right now I'm on Facebook, and this is my podcast today, trying to build up content. So if you've seen me put up a lot of videos in the past few days, I'm trying to build up content for my YouTube channel, ARA Self-Empowerment. Here at ARA Self-Empowerment, on this particular podcast, which we try to do an hour every time we do a podcast. I want to do it once a week, but I'm trying to build up content for my followers. And so today we're going to talk about Candace Owens. Candace Owens. That's what we're going to talk about today. Candace Owens. And the controversy, or let's say why there are so many people following Candace Owens, especially European Americans. You do have some African Americans who are following Candace Owens, and I'm not here to bash Candace Owens. I just want to give my take on it. I mean, everybody has a take. I desire to give my take. I'm so surprised at how you see so many European Americans who follow Candace Owens. You know, I've gone out into to society, to the community, and then you would hear European Americans speaking of Candace. Oh, I love her. Everybody needs to hear Candace Owens. My goodness, she's so educated. My God, we need to let it go viral. And I think she has her own show now. And I recall something a long time ago. Well, I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but it's been a while back. And my dad was telling me that if everybody is patting you on the back, and if everybody is pretty much going with you, you pretty much probably is not God. That's not to say a lot of people won't follow you, because a lot of people follow Jesus Christ. But as we notice, if we read about it, in the end, they all left him. So a lot of times we have people following us, and then we need to ask, why are those people following us? Why are they pumping us up? Why are they promoting us? What's the big deal behind it? And so today we're going to talk about Candace Owens, and let's get to the meat of this. But before I say that, let's give a shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for winning today. The Dallas Cowboys did win today, and I'm happy about that. Kind of got a little strange at the end, but thank God that, not thank God, because God's not in sports like he's trying to help them win, but we're happy that they won. Let's put it like that. We have that they won. My stepdaughter, she came in. She's like, oh man, they winning. She always wants to come to me, and she's happy when they're losing. So today she can't say anything because they won. And so shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for making me look good today by winning. So happy about that. But now let's get back to this Candace Owens situation. Where do I start with this one? Every time I think about Candace Owens, I get a laugh and I get a chuckle. And let me say this: there are a lot of Candace Owens out there, in society. Candace Owens is an African American of African American descent, just like I am, and like most African Americans in America, we are not 100% from Africa. And just to be frank about it, I don't think Europeans are 100%. A lot of them are mixed too. But just to bring it up, all of us, most of us have some type of mixture with something. And so when we say African American, pretty much talking about speaking of the fact that our ancestry, most of it leads back to Africa, and we don't know about the rest because slavery was so mixed up, so violent, so cruel, so demeaning. It's hard to talk about it without cringing. And so here we have Candace Owens, so many people following Candace Owens, so many people happy, especially European Americans. And it makes you wonder, why are so many of them happy about Candace Owens? Well, let me break it down to you before we get into all of this about Candace Owens and why they are following Candace Owens. But the first thing we want to say, Candace Owens is a very educated African American woman. And I'm not for sure if she graduated from college or not. And so let me preface that by saying this. Just because someone has not graduated from college does not mean they do not have intelligence. So someone may say, well, Candace Owens didn't graduate from college. I'm not for sure if she did, not sure if she didn't. I think someone told me that she didn't, and based on what I know, what I think I know, she didn't graduate from college. But from what I do know, after listening to her, she is highly educated. And what makes Candace Owens effective is that the fact that she is educated, number one. Number two, she knows how to talk fast, and talk over people. You see, so she's going to get her points out without letting you get yours out. So that is something, and I hope a lot of you women on the listen to don't get mad. The female species know how to do that very well. They know how to talk real fast, real super fast. So that's something that a lot of women do very well. You get into a conversation with them. Let's say a lot of people say, "Well, bring on the show. I wish you could bring this person on the show." Well, it's kind of like you can't win in that, because if you try to speak up to them and try to speak over them, oh, that's so mean of you. You don't have to be like that. What man talks over a woman? Or if you are aggressive, oh wow, you just gonna be aggressive like that? so people say that too, so you just gonna just be aggressive. You really must hate your mom. So Candace Owens has those things in her tool belt, so to speak. She's intelligent. She is a woman. She's not ugly. She is attractive. So that if she was some ugly person, and there is such thing as ugliness. I used to wonder as a kid, why did God make ugly people? Or are people really ugly, or are they just where we think they're ugly? You ever thought about that? You hear people saying, well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's true in a sense. But why are there ugly people? And this is my theory. I have no proof of this. My theory is that it's just what people eat. Maybe it's what they ate and they start looking like, because I know some people, they look kind of like pigs and they eat a lot of pork. And some people look like certain things, and then you just look at their diet. So my theory is probably what people eat. But let's get back on to Candace Owens. So she has those things in her tool belt. She's an attractive woman. She's an African American. She's intelligent. She's female. So she knows how to talk real fast over people. And so lastly, she does bring truth to the picture. To the picture. I was listening to Donald Trump when he was debating Biden. He was almost like a female version of Candace Owens. He talked fast. He spoke over her. I'm not gonna say he's highly intelligent, so he wasn't on that level. He has some intelligence, but not to the point like rapid fire like Candace Owens. But he did speak over Biden, and Biden seemed to be old and antiquated, but somewhat intelligent, but just not able to get his words out quick enough. And Biden and Trump just You know what I'm saying? So that's how Candace Owens is. And so one of the things that I heard Candace Owens say, and that what you have to watch out for, and this is what a lot of European Americans love to do. They love to propagate things, speak things as out there, put the information out there as if it came from the authority. Is we on the level of the authority. I'm presenting this because we are the authority. We know you don't. When we say this, accept it. And so when you look at Candace Owens, it's not so much what a person wants you to hear. Listen to what they say. It's just like a lady on Facebook. She reminded me of Candace Owens so much, and I listen to her all the time. I'm just in shock, like, oh my God, I can't believe this lady said that. Wow. And so what you hear Candace Owens says, the biggest factor in America, in the black community, is the absentee of the black father. Maybe I should have brought a pen to write some of this stuff down, so as I'm talking, then I can go back. But I'll do that next time. But anyway, so she goes on and she said the biggest problem is the absentee of the African American father. That good point. So that's where that education comes in. Good point. But where the common sense, that she's lacking common sense, or she's lacking comprehension in certain areas, is that you have all this education. It's just like, you ever seen I call them educated ignorance. People that are educated ignorant. They're very educated but yet ignorant in other areas. And you have people like that, like Condoleezza Rice, I think that's her name. Highly that Condoleezza Rice is not educated. That woman is educated. So a lot of time when you're listening to people, women, men, whatever, you hear the education, but now you can go somewhere and some of the most simple, basic things that are common sense, they cannot. They're like, what are you talking about? What's the problem? And you're looking like, wow, you got a PhD degree? So there are educated, ignorant people. And so I hope I'm not jumping all around, but I am a little bit, because I'm so excited to talk about Candace Owens, because here is an educated, ignorant woman. Just like Condoleezza Rice is an educated, ignorant woman, highly educated. And these two women remind me of looking at one of those safari movies or documentaries, when you see the lion comes in, running, jumping in, and there go the lions looking. And here he come, and all the female lions are looking. And then there's a big fight, and the lion takes over the pride. And when he takes over the pride, he goes around and he just kills all of the little male, or all the cubs. He kill them all. And he just kill them. But then he keeps all the females. So you notice that? He keeps all the female, and then he impregnates them with his seed. In other words, my lineage is going to be here. I just whooped him, ran him off, and now here I am. And have you noticed that with a lot of educated African American women and men, we got to go both ways, but today we're talking about Candace Owens. Well, one of these podcasts I'm going to talk about Michael Jordan too. I want to show you about Michael Jordan. What you notice here is that the European man who has been dominant in the last 400 years, who have dominated all cultures and races on the European, on the North American continent, and also on the African continent. You see a lot of African American women who are rising to education, but they're walking around with a European husband, American husband. I know, don't get mad at me. I'm not saying it's wrong to have a a European American husband, or a mixed race. That's a whole nother topic. So we're not trying to say, oh, you're going to hell because, or you're doing something wrong because you're in a mixed race. I'm 86% African descent, 14% European. Somebody was mixed up. So we have to accept that. But that's not what we're talking about today. But what I'm saying today is that you will notice that people like Candace Owens, who talk about all this education and talk about all this, the number one problem in the black community is the absentee of the African American father. And it seemed like that if that was such a problem, why didn't you have an African American husband? And vice versa. But again, we're not talking about Michael Jordan and other men. We're talking about Candace Owens today. So that's one of the things you have to put on the table. Why did all these African American men, and you see that there is a problem in the African American community, that there is an absentee of black men as fathers or being leaders? Why did you choose a European husband? If you just gonna put, a lot of people say love has no color. Well, if love has no color, why are we talking about the number one problem of the black community? Why are we not talking about the number one problem of Americans or the number one problem of humanity? Why do we have to say the number one problem in the African American community? If love has no color and you just put love out there, why are we discussing the color of the number one problem? Why can't the number one problem just be humanity or Americans? But you have to put the number one problem in the African American community is the absentee of the black father. But you don't go marry a man and have to show the world that you go marry a. Okay, so really what we see here is evidence that you have a problem yourself with the black community yourself and within yourself. Let's deal with that. And that's why so many European Americans love Candace Owens, because we have a educated African American woman who is articulate to express our ideals, and she has a European husband. I mean, it writes itself. You know, it's almost like you hear people saying all the time, like, let's say if you got into it, if you had a job and there are some Europeans on there, European Americans that desire to be racist. And let us preface this: all European Americans are not racist. In fact, racism can come from any color. So that's any race. And I want to talk about color anyway, so we can define that. Let me go ahead and do it right now. So there is no such thing as black and white anyway. I just say that, again, I've said that many times. I only say black and white because in America, that's what we say, black and white. You know, that's something that people created for racism. But we really came from continents and cultures and last names, and that's a whole nother podcast. But that's really what makes us up. That's what makes humanity, is the region that you were from, the region you were from, your family tree. That's what makes up humanity. Okay. And so European Americans, the one that subscribe to the Confederacy, the same thing. If you go read the Texas secession speech, when they described that African Americans had no part in the establishment of this great nation, and so their only natural order is below the European man. So that's why they said, hey, we pulling out of the Union and we're going to fight to hold up slavery and racism. So a lot of people believe that. And to many of you that's in shock, there are a lot of African Americans, black people that believe that, whether they say that or not. There are black people like Candace Owens that highly look up to Europeans, and they look down to African Americans. And if you could probably sit in a room with them, they were, and God asked them, hey, okay, if I can reinvent you and bring you back, what color would you come back? Oh, I mean, what race or color, if you want to just go with color? They would say, oh, Lord, bring me back as a European, please, Lord. Lord, just please, Jesus, Lord, oh, Lord. You know, like in the movie Django, when the character, Samuel L. Jackson character, was on the floor, he said, oh, please, Lord G, let me kill this nigga. He said, please, Lord G, give me strength to kill this nigga. So some people probably would pray that same prayer. Oh, please, Lord Jesus, raise me up, send me back, and bring me back, Lord, as a European American. And to be frank about it, a lot of European Americans, they boast of saying that they love their whiteness, but a lot of them stay at the tanning salon. So you're not too proud of being white. You instead of pretending, trying to burn yourself up to turn your color. So you're really not so proud of being white either. That's why you're at these tanning salons. And so here you have Candace Owens saying things, and I was going to say this, and I've gone 19 minutes and haven't stated this first quote that she put out. So let me put this quote out that she put out there. She was saying that everything was fine before. I had to laugh. It's so funny. Every time she said that everything was fine before Barack Obama. Barack Obama, everybody was getting along, no problem. There was no racism. And then when Barack Obama came and started all this mess, and then boom, everybody's mad at each other and racist. I mean, you have to sit there and look at these girls like, are you serious? Oh my God. Really? I mean, some things people say, some things you can't deny. Like, you can't deny that Candace Owens is educated. Literally. You can't deny Ben Carson is educated, because the dude is a brain surgeon. So when you think of Ben Carson, you can't go around saying Ben Carson is dumb. Just like you can't say that Donald Trump is dumb. I mean, the dude is a bitch. I don't care if somebody handed it to him. The dude found a way to manipulate folks to allow him to lead the country. You see what I'm saying? That's not dumb. You can't go around calling people like Donald Trump dumb, who riding around in expensive cars and got money, and he is not in jail and not went to prison. I say this all the time. People always point to the numbers of African Americans in prison and jail. That's because black people are not as criminal as many Europeans. If they were, then Europeans would be in jail. They know how to get around it. They made the law. It is their law. Just like Bull Connors, he said, "D the law. We are the law down here." So it's their law to make, and it's their law to enforce. That's why you're not going to see a lot of them in jail, because they know how to get around it. Been doing it for years. But let's get back to this Candace Owens. She said everything was fine, and she said black people was prospering, doing well, and that's where that education comes in. It pops in that some of that is true. That after slavery, you had a lot of African Americans, believe it or not, that were actually making strides. Now, making strides is not full prosperity now, and that's where people speak in part. Like people say that the white man spoke in a forked tongue. They say Native Americans said that. I don't know if they truly said that or not. But I was looking at a special HBO specials talking about the Native Americans, how they was pushed all on reservations, and every time they would sign one treaty, the Europeans would break it and find some other reason to get them off of it, because they found some gold or some oil or some reason. Oh man, we didn't gave them this property. How do we get them off of it? That's been going on for a long time. So where Candace Owens gets off at is when she speaks that African Americans were prosperous. When Barack Obama came on the scene, it wasn't where did all this come from? And there's some truth in that, because I have some people that I knew, man, they were African Americans. They were saying that if Barack Obama could be the president, you could do anything. Quit making excuses. Racism is a thing of the past. I even saw a video clip of a police officer. He was basically racial profiling a realtor, and then the realtor told him, "Man, y'all racial profiling." He said, "Oh man, stop that. This is 2020 or something." He said that don't fly no more. That racism stuff don't fly. That's the thing of the past. Now, just like in ministry and in anything or in life, you have to contextualize things. That's why they call it contextualization. If you don't put it in context, you take it out of context. So it's easy to say that African Americans were prospering after the Civil War. True statement. It's easy to say, Candace Owens, to say stuff like everybody was getting along. True statement, but who are you talking about? In what point? What group of people are you speaking of? And so it's almost like when you stir the pot. See, Barack Obama being president stirred the pot. A lot of Europeans were asleep. They probably thought the dude wasn't going to make it to be president. Like, he won't make it. They're not. Like a lot of people sleep on Trump. They didn't think Trump would actually win the presidency. And a lot of people didn't think that Barack Obama would win the presidency, let alone 2 terms. They thought he'd be shot before he finished the first one. I'm just sitting being real about it. They thought the dude was going to be shot before he make it to the second term. I literally thought that he would be shot. And I thought, man, he was talking about change and all this stuff. But then by the second term, it dawned on me what he was doing. Oh, this dude is for feminism and the feminism and the pervert community, the sodomites and all that. So I said, oh, that's how he got in there. I understand he tricked us, but the majority of his base was feminists and the pervert, rapist, pedophile, perversion community. That's what got him there. Okay, so I'm like, now I see. That's what it's all about. And he took a page right out of the book of white supremacy. That's what he did. And one of the things, and let's put Candace Owens on hold just a second. Have you ever noticed that they say Barack Obama was an African American man? Let's deal with that right quick. Let me deal with it. We're gonna jump back on Candace Owens. But he had an African father, but I think his mother was from Kansas. He had a European American mother. So I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm thinking that Barack Obama's dad was straight from Africa. Like, I'm not saying slavery, he was from Africa. So he was, I'm assuming, full-blooded from Africa. And then his mom was maybe full-blooded Kansas. Because, I'm thinking, maybe this is a stereotype or something, or maybe I'm late grouping. But I'm thinking most of those Kansas folk, they European. So you had a European and an African produce a child. How did the child become black? African. I'm trying to figure out, why wasn't it white? Or why wasn't it European? Why couldn't it be Euro-Afro or Afro-European? Why he couldn't be a Euro-African or something like that, or Afro-Euro, whatever? I'm lost. Not lost, but just something to think about. Why is it that when someone is mixed with multiple races, they're automatically African or black, so to speak, what they call black? That within itself is saying that they are the superior race, they are pure, and everybody else is just, you see? That within itself. And people like Candace Owens subscribes to that. And that proves the point why they like her so much, because she upholds what they believe. It's not so much she's telling the truth, because there's a lot of this stuff is not even true, because truth is absolutely true. It's not no part of lie in it. People always say back in the day that half the truth is a whole lie. So to say that African Americans were doing so well after slavery is a whole lie. It's a whole lie. Now African Americans were to contextualize that. A lot of African Americans could not go past 2 generations to look up their family tree. So I don't know how they were doing so well. Most African Americans had trades, but they were still servants of European Americans. So as a whole, they wasn't doing well, because they were still the servants of Europeans. They were just one generation removed, and they were still working. Like if y'all seen the movie Help, a lot of them were picking up trash men, and they was porters, even in the military. Not saying all of them was like this, but even when they went into the military, they were cooks, washing dishes. They were all like, it was like just a step above slavery. Just now you get a little money for it. Okay, you see? And so what Candace Owens is talking about, it reveals her lack of experience and her common sense. It shows her education, but it shows that she's one of those female lioness, that the lion has come in and attacked the African lion, the male black, and has taken over, and now they have one of her. They say, okay, now you are one of us now. We are going to have sex with you and produce what we believe. And now she's regurgitating what they told her, and what she's been now, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I guess, yeah, you can say that, brainwashed. And so you see so many African American women in America who have been taken over by the European man, that literally have a good money. Like a lot of these people work in banks, doctors, and philanthropists. These are not ignorant women. These are women that have things. They are allowed to succeed. It's like my favorite scene in Training Day, where Denzel Washington, he plays the crooked cop. He said, I allowed Roger to operate with immunity. Allow Roger to do this. They are allowing Candace Owens to be the mouthpiece of white America, so to speak, with a black face. A nice looking woman that's intelligent, knows how to speak, and speak fast. And go around and speak to all the other people. Listen, it's not a problem. It's us. It's us as a people. We're using a race card. We're making excuses. If you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, stop making excuses and go to work with a strong family and go to church, it'll be better. Quit trying to think about slavery. That was back in 1865 was abolished. Forget the fact that Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, and that's within our timeline lifetime, because I was born in 1969. He was assassinated 1 year before I was born. So we're talking about folk out there shooting people and mad at them, and we're talking George Wallace, segregation now, segregation today, and segregation tomorrow. 1963, George Wallace said that, January 1963. That's less than 60 years ago that George Wallace said segregation now, segregation today, and segregation tomorrow. And then he had a son that went into politics, George Wallace III. So you're trying to tell me that those folk thought like that less than 60 years ago, and you don't think their children today have some of those same sentiments? You think all of that stuff just disappeared? And that's what Candace Owens is. She's one of those folk that just think that it all just went away. We were doing fine. Everybody was loving each other. Really? Okay. The fact that she would say things, and then, you know, it's just like a lot of black African American men who speak about there's nothing wrong with, like, again, I've said this and I'm gonna keep saying this. If you want to have a mixed marriage, it's nothing wrong. We're all mixed anyway. But the point is, don't go around speaking about African American failures and then go and marry another race. If you're saying that you're trying to build up this particular race you're talking about, if you're saying that African Americans need to do better, black men need to do this, black women need to do this, well, hey, bro, why don't you show us better than tell us? Go marry you a black man, and y'all have a black family. Show the world what you're talking about, Candace Owens. Marry a black man. Don't go marry a European man and then talk about what black men failed to do and what black women failed to do and why they can't come together. Okay, we get that. We get it. We get it. And now, if you came to this realization after you married the European man, I get it. And maybe you did. So say that. You know, at first I didn't see it, but I had already married the European man, so I wish I could have do it over and could have married the black man, you know? I hope that makes sense. And so here we see why so many European Americans are in love with Candace Owens. They're in love with Candace Owens because they get to put it in our faces. Like my mom would say, people, I guess she got it from her mother, but the old people say, you trying to wash my face. And they use Candace Owens to wash black America's face. To wash it. Every time a black man is with a white woman and vice versa, it tells America, it tells whether you accept this or not. That's what it says. It says you're not good enough. If the white woman is walking, if a black man, an African American man marries a white woman and he parades her around the country, especially in this society, in this culture, and what we come from, we're not talking about Britain, we're talking about the United States of America. We know the history of the United States of America and the Confederacy, Jim Crow, black codes. We know the history of all of that. So when you walk down the street with as an African American man with a European woman, you tell all African American women they're not good enough. They weren't good enough. Whether you say that, see that or not. That's what Candace Owens gets up when she gets up and she's speaking, whether she sees it or not, because she's young. She don't have the experience. She is educated, no doubt. So she has this European man husband. It tells the world that the African American man is not good enough. It even said her father was a failure. That's what it says. It speaks volumes. You wasn't good enough. you wasn't good enough. And not only were you not good enough, I had to go over to their race to get somebody that knew how to do it. And so when I'm up here talking about the failures, it's after I'm lecturing us and lecturing the African American community by saying we are failures. What we went through and all that stuff we went through is really our fault. It's what we went through. This is stuff that we put on ourselves. Slavery is something we did. A lot of times, if many of you have traveled around the country, I've traveled around the United States of America and the world. And I have seen European Americans, how they giggle at African Americans, especially, is that your father? Did you know your dad? They giggle. It's like funny. It's the running joke behind it. Did you know your father? You know, and the sad part about it, because of slavery, a lot of African Americans in slavery didn't know their father, because their father could have been the master of the plantation, or it could have been the other guy across the plantation. It could have even been the guy in the field, you know, but they all knew who their mother was. So that's why in the African American community, a lot of times you hear people kind of having what you call a matriarch system versus a patriarch. And the Bible is based on a patriarch. It follows the father, you see. But in slavery, it was more of a matriarch, because they didn't know the father. It was too complex, because they've been broken up and torn up. They couldn't really know who the father was. So that's the part of slavery and dominance and all this stuff. So this is the stuff that Candace Owens does not take into place when she's trying to compare crime and all of these things. Some of the most common sense things, easiest things to do, is when you go around talking about crime, saying 1,000 black people murder people, only 400 whites. And so you start asking yourself, what is white? What is black? And if of those 1,000 people that you claimed that were black, and you did their DNA and they had a white mother or a cousin or something, well, what makes them black? Why couldn't you say that they were mixed? Or why couldn't you say that, well, I'll tell you what, since the person had European and African American in them, when we count crime, let's say give each one of them a notch. You know, we'll give a notch for like I say, if Barack Obama committed a crime, instead of adding him as just black, just say we're gonna notch him one for the blacks and one for the European, because he had a European mama and he had an African daddy. So both races get a notch for crime. Click, click. But no, they only give a black person a crime. A click, click. See, this is all white supremacy. So Candace Owens never takes that into consideration. Or she says the apathy of the black fathers. She just grouped every kid as having a black father. How do you know the father wasn't a Mexican or Hispanic or Russian or a Native American or whatever? How do you know he was a black man? You just automatically, it makes it so easy, just automatically say they're black. They not totally pure, they black. It's black. So the numbers, our numbers are always gonna go up, because everything that's bad goes to black people. So this is not about true numbers. This is all about racism, and this is all just like the critical race theory. They all trying to get against that because they don't want it coming out. And so this is why they're so big on Candace Owens, because Candace Owens is an African American woman who is articulate, who is educated, and she says what they want to hear. And what they want to hear is, it's not our fault. We let y'all go in 1865. We had a war, and that was it. Forget Jim Crow, black codes, the KKK, forget white supremacy, forget all these things we did from 1865 to 19. This excuses is not true. It's not true. It's not true. Y'all just making excuses. Y'all got everything that we have. You got name one thing that you can't do in America that I can't do. See how that it sounds like the devil does it, because it is. It is Satan. He said, if somebody tell you, name one thing that an African American in America can't do that a European American can't do. And the first upstanding answer is nothing. Everything they can do, you can do. But then when you try to contextualize that, bring it into full context, you say, name the stigmas and the barriers that are going to be presented to you merely because of your heritage, your ancestry, and your background that's going to be applied to you versus them. And it's going to go like this. And that's what she does not discuss. See, it's called not bringing stuff into context. Not bringing things into context. And so here it is, a person who clearly, and I know I heard a lady say, you know, people say, hate yourself. Hate yourself. Listen, it's one thing about kids. Kids are innocent. They're real innocent. They did a little test with kids. And kids just, you know, they just gonna put it out there. They don't know how to be like adults who we major in emotional security. And unfortunately, a lot of women really major in emotional security. And so when they're in this emotional security, they're trying to protect themselves. Kids will just kind of put it out there. So when they're presenting things to kids, they was presenting who's the bad doll and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure many of you know about that. They picked the black doll more times than the white doll. Because not only in your mind is it like that, even when you think of inventions, you don't think of an African American person when you think of inventions. Most of the time when you think of an African American, the first thing comes to your mind is sports and entertainment. You think of joking and being a comedian or something. But you really don't think about a scientist, a doctor, a lawyer, when we have so many of them. Just like when you look at the NFL, when you even look at sports alone, time of African sports, a player does something wrong, whether it's getting in trouble with some drugs, the whole entire NFL that's full of black people is judged and condemned as all of you like that. See, black people are judged groups and white people are judged individually. No matter how many mass shootings, it was just a rogue wolf. A lone wolf. But when a black person does something, they black on black crime, they're all doing it, and they're always pointing to Chicago. And this is Candace Owens doing the same thing. She's regurgitating what racist Europeans say. And she's saying what they say. Just like they bring up Chicago. Black on black crime in Chicago. If the Democrats are so great, look how bad Chicago is. But they don't contextualize Chicago been bad since the 1920s when Al Capone was up there. They were still messing up in the 1920s. This is 2021. So this is about the system. They had gangs in 1920. Well, it wasn't as bad. Well, obviously it's not going to be as bad when you have better weaponry, when you have better use of technology, when you have better ways to get around. So now things are going to be able to be done in a major way in this 2021 versus 1920. Come on now. Put things in context. But the bottom line, it still was crime. It was still gangs, and it was still violence. Still prostitution. They probably wasn't thinking of meth because the Germans brought in meth in the 1940s with their soldiers. So they probably wasn't putting meth together, but they still was doing liquor and still some form of drugs in a major way because at that time, cities were not the size as they are today. So you have to put things into context. But the bottom line is there was still violence in that city of Chicago. So to sit there and try to paint Chicago as this is it, all the black people up in Chicago killing each other. They might be up there doing this, but they were doing this before Chicago was full of blacks. They were doing it full of European Americans and Irish and Germans and all this. There was racism before black people was free. They was mad at the Germans. They were mad at the Irish, just not as mad as the African Americans. So the system needed a scapegoat. The system in America has always needed a scapegoat, and they've always found a minority of people to do it, to point fingers at. And look no further than a group of people that are minorities in America than African Americans. And so this is what makes Candace Owens so unique, because here's a young lady who's, again, she's educated. And I still want to say this, just because you don't have a degree, I don't want to put her down. Just because she doesn't have a degree doesn't mean she's not educated. But you have African American people who have 3-4 degrees, have a lot of experience, of age, and Europeans would dismiss them, totally dismiss them, and then raise Candace Owens up, not because she has the credentials, not because she has the experience, simply because she's saying what we say, saying what we want to hear. And she is a good candidate because she's attractive and she's articulate, just like I think it's the lieutenant governor in Virginia. She became the lieutenant governor, and she's black, and she was a Marine Corps. You know, hey, I'm all for her being a Marine. I'm happy for her being a Marine. My brother, my half brother Gary, he was Marine. He lost his life in the Marine Corps. So I'm fond of the Marines. And so she gets up there on the stage, and here they say stuff about it's not about color, we're a country, stop looking at color, we are all Americans. But in her speech, she gets there, I'm black. As if we can't see you black. You black is a bunch of Oreo cookies up here in a package. We know you black. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory. I see you black. But why do you have to say that? Because the Republicans put her up there to, just like they put up Candace Owens, to say we're not racist. You can be anything you want to be. But let me interpret what they're really saying. You can be anything you want to be, provided you say what we say and do what we tell you. Provided you do what we tell you to do. And say what we say. You can be anything you want. Just like Michael Jordan. And that's going to be that's a podcast that I'm talking about, just like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I like Michael Jordan. I'll be honest. He's the GOAT because he kept his mouth shut. He's not out there trying to help African American communities and give money and talk about racism. He's keeping his mouth shut. He's over there with his money and hey, thank y'all for these millions. I'm gonna shut my mouth. Do what you do. It's your nigga. Do how you want to do it. And I don't use the word nigga. I'm just coming. That's what Django said in the movie Django. When he told him to do what he wanted to do with his nigga. Wow. And that's how Candace Owens. Candace Owens, she has a European husband. She has a child. She's married. She's enjoying. All the Europeans love it. We love you, Candace Owens. Oh my God! Finally, a black person that knows their place and knows. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh Lord Jesus! And you know what's so funny about all this stuff is that they'll say stuff like "come off the plantation," like if you're voting Democrat, you're on the plantation. Wow, how good, how he know how to turn things around and twist it around. You know, come off the plantation. Come off the plantation. What plantation? You know, it's kind of like in the movie Roots. I guess they got a point because, you know, Master Reynolds he was a master, and then he sold, I think he sold his plantation from right or whatever. And then George Moore, no, he didn't sell it. He gave the plantation, gave some of his slaves over to George Moore. That's what it was. And he transferred her to George. He sold Kizzy to George Morse. But he was at some point was the master of Kizzy and Kuta Kinte. His name was Kuta Kinte, but then he changed his name to Toby. So he said his name was Toby. And so they sold her because she was, I think, helping the other slave to get free. So they beat him until he told, and they found the note that she wrote and everything like that. And so they sold her over to Master Moore. So Master Moore had his plantation, kind of like trashy kind of plantation. And then Reynolds was kind of upscale kind of plantation. So I guess when they say come out the plantation, you got to ask which plantation you talking about. Because the Republicans is a plantation and the Democratic Party is a plantation. So they're both plantations. It's just which plantation you want to be a part of. Do you want to be the upscale plantation where everybody's nice and in dinner garb and come on over, kids? You're doing good. Put the T right there. That's a good girl. Thank you, Candace Owens. Good girl. Good girl. Come on, you nice. Good girl. Or do you want to go to the trashy plantation where they just do anything? And that's kind of like the Democrats. I guess they would be like Master Moore. So if I was to describe plantations, they're right. Come off the plantation, leave the Master Moore plantation, come over to the Master Rental plantation. Where, Master Row, you got this, fighting chickens, and then in the Master Rentals, the Republican Party, you'll just be serving in the White House. Okay. So I guess that's what they mean. Come off their plantation where they had you working at KFC chicken and all that kind of stuff. But see, if you come over to the Republican Party, then you're going to be serving in a better building. You still be a servant, but we'll treat you a lot better. Give you the scraps of the steak. But that's what gets Candace Owens. Candace Owens is an educated black woman, African American woman. But if you look at what she's doing versus what she's saying, she has a European American husband. She talks down to African Americans about owning up to their parts. But when do she talk to Europeans about owning theirs? So see what I'm saying? So now what we see here is a African American woman who's basically telling America that what is going on here is really not, it wasn't so bad. It's not really European. It's really African Americans. I think she even said something about Adolf Hitler wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. He just wanted what's good for his people. It was the same thing with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey got all this money, but she knows her place. This woman is a billionaire. And it's kind of the same thing with all these gangster rappers. They're allowed to make money because they're allowed to give the image to African Americans to be a thug or whatever and gangster and all this kind of stuff. So they allow them to make the money because they project this image that we're thugs. So that feeds right into the narrative. Thank you. We'll keep paying you. Yeah, keep doing it. So you have one group like Oprah Winfrey, Candace Owens, even the Sheriff Clark. We're going to talk about him one day, Sheriff Clark, who they have this base, but the base is really European America, who allow them to speak and say what they want to say. And then when you try to say somebody's racist, they say, how is it? They were black. A black lady said that. See, if you go and say, well, law enforcement, what you mean? Sheriff, that Sheriff Clark is a black sheriff. Just like when you see Donald Trump at one of the rallies, he said, look at my black friend over there. Look at my he looked at the whole crowd, he found a black person. Look at my black friend. So in other words, y'all said I'm a racist, but I got a black guy right there. You see what I'm saying? And you have people saying it's not racism. I saw a guy with a big bus with all these flags. Come and take it. Donald Trump. And it was two black gentlemen selling the flags. And then they had Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King on the bus because, Abraham Lincoln was a part of the Republican Party. And what they failed to tell you is that an ideology is an ideology. And just because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican and Donald Trump was a Republican, that doesn't mean that's the same Republican Party or the same ideology. It just means they carry the label of Republican. So now they run around saying that the Republican Party is what freed the slaves. No. Just because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, that doesn't mean the Republican Party of today freed the slave. Because the Republican Party of today will be more like the Southern Dixiecrats of yesteryear. Because they have the more similar ideology. Even though they carry two different titles, still have the same ideology. That's why a person can have different names but have the same spirit of Satan in them. And so even though they got two different names, you say, I already know who that is. That's Satan. Even though y'all names different, y'all still got the same father. Come on. And so as I'm wrapping this up today on my podcast about Candace Owens, why European Americans love Candace Owens so much, you should understand they love her so much because she promotes what they want us all to hear. And she's doing a good job at it. And you hear them all the time saying, I love her. Now, would it resonate as much if Candace Owens was white? No, it wouldn't. Because you could say a white person said it, but when they get somebody of an African American to say it has more credibility to it, because they say a black person said it. Yes. And so many other African Americans who talk like that, they rock around all happy, like I'm different. You remember in the movie Glory, he said, you thought you was different, huh? Cops saying racist things. She was a cop and they didn't know she was standing there. She was a black female officer, and then a white officer. Oh, but we're not talking about you though. You're different. You're different. But now the flip side of that, if you were to talk about Europeans, they would take that person, just like with O.J. Simpson. They took that person, even though that woman that was killed, we still to this day don't know who killed her, but they found him innocent. They found O.J. Simpson innocent, but they still said he was guilty. The justice system failed us. Why? Because it didn't do what we wanted to do. See the difference? See? But when Rittenhouse was found innocent, they said it worked. The justice system worked. What are they saying? They're saying it works when it does what we tell it to do, because we are the law. Like Bull Connor said, "Be the law. We are the law down here." That's what they're saying to you. And so I'm so happy to have brought this podcast. Could have did better on it within, we just have an hour here. I'm trying to fill up my content on ARASelfEmpowerment platform on YouTube. So I want you to go over on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share this content with friends. Put it out there for me. Subscribe, build up my subscribers. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by 2022 of this December 2022. This time next year, I want to have over 1,000 subscribers. We're going to continue to talk about various things. I have put a lot of content in the last 3 days, and so every Tuesday we're going live with our podcast for 1 hour on Facebook, and then save it over on YouTube. So again, go to YouTube, ARA Self Empowerment. That's ARA Self Empowerment. That's my podcast channel, and we will keep it going. I think the next content we're going to talk about posers and fake patriots. People running around with these blue flags, American flags, let me back the police, and fake patriots and all that kind of stuff. We want to talk about them as well, because we see through that. We know what's really back. So have a great Sunday. So happy the Cowboys won. Also going to do a podcast when we win the Super Bowl in 2022. Talk about how we came back. The Cowboys finally won their first Super Bowl. Have a good Sunday. Eat some good chicken, turkey, ham, whatever you're going to eat today, and enjoy yourself. God bless you. See you next time.